Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. This is Optibottoms coming to you with another video review. And today we're going to be taking a look at the new Hot Toys Iron Man 3 Mark 20, otherwise known as the Python. Taking a look at the packaging first, as you can see a really nice image of the Mark 20 in its black and gold color. But you're also seeing the Sideshow exclusive sticker here in the corner. Now what that basically means for those that don't know is that this figure was initially released overseas as I think a Toy Fair exclusive. But Sideshow, being partnered with Hot Toys and the official distributor here in the US, were able to bring it over here to be able to sell exclusively through them. So this is a figure that you cannot get anywhere else. If you want this, you gotta go through Sideshow Collectibles. But packaging wise, it looks great. One thing, I don't know how well this is going to come across, but you do see a very nice reflective gold and silver text here in the background. But the actual figure, number one, you can hear and feel that it's raised from the rest of the actual package. But you have a very nice gold foil sort of effect where I don't know how well that's going to come across. Let me see if I can come in a little bit more. You can kind of see specifically right here where there's a bit of, like I said, the gold foil effect with tiny minute little reflections all throughout. I mean, it absolutely looks terrific. Again, I don't know how well that's going to come across on camera, but on here it looks great. As you can see, you got the Iron Man 3 logo out there, Iron Man 3, Iron Man 3. On this side, you got Mark 20. On this side, it also says Mark 20. Flip around here to the back of the package, and that gold and black color continues on, and you get warnings as well as various company addresses and information and things of that nature. It is a slip sleeve kind of cover, so you just slide this off, and what you're left with is a open clear package, which allows you to see the figure within. You got some more of this gold. It's a little bit darker of a gold though, and not reflective, but that same sort of paint scheme does carry on. And then on the back here is where you see the cast and crew and the people responsible for creating this piece. Overall, again, a nice representation of a collectible friendly package. I always love these. I think that they absolutely nail what an adult collectible package should look like. Many times on things such as the Sideshow Freak forums and even the 1/6 Scale Republic Facebook page, I see a lot of collectors that display their boxes, and if you had the room, I don't see why you wouldn't, because these do look great and are almost wonderful pieces just to display in of themselves. But beyond that, that's about it for the package. So without further ado, let's get him open and see how cool he actually is. Alright guys, so here we have the Mark 20, otherwise known as the Python armor, opened up and out of its packaging. Now, the Python is Tony Stark's extended flight suit. Initially based off of the Mark 7, Tony designed the Python to be a lighter suit and store more power for extended flight needs. It's given the nickname Python because a Python can expand for, a long distance. And that's what this suit's purpose is. And being that it is based off of the Mark 7, there are some parts on here that are reused from that Mark 7 figure that we got previously. We'll touch on that here in a little bit, but I mention it because he also does come with the same sort of shoulder bits here that the Mark 7 originally came with. In addition to that, there's some other parts that attach to his arm that are accessories for him that are also the same. So coming down to take a look at his accessories first, as I said, he does come with those extra little shoulder bits that we saw in the Mark 7, where he's got the little rockets on here that have a different paint job on here. That you can see silver in there, and you got black tips on them, where I believe the original Mark 7 had red tips, I think. It does still have the full articulation that it had previously. The only thing different about these two, like I said, is the color. So those are the same accessories that you're getting. Just setting those off to the side to get those out of the way. He also does come with both right and left forearm missiles. Now both of these again are reused from that previous Mark 7 that we got, but because the Python here uses the same arms, these are also included. But again, you got a different paint job, which looks really nice. You got a gold tip missile here. You got the black, although it's really not black. I'll get into that a little bit. In addition to his normal wrist guards that he has, he also does have some that are on the angle that we're very used to seeing, at least now nowadays, where he's got his extra hand that has it bent here at the wrist area so that you can put the actual repulsor blast sort of look up for it, and the wrist guard, it just comes up just like that, although that's the wrong one to use for him, but you get the idea. Now, because he also does utilize the same torso as the Mark 7 figure, those thrusters that he had on the side of his chest, I guess, kind of under his armpit, I'll touch on this a little bit. You do get these extra little pads right here that can replace those little thrusters, much like that Mark 7. In that video, I talked about how the Mark 7 in the movie had thrusters right there underneath his pectoral area, I guess. And when those burned up, basically what was left were just these little pieces. So you do have those. In addition to the 2 closed fists that I have currently on the figure, you do have those 2 additional right and left hands that have the wrist kind of on an angle so that you can get the repulsor blast going with it, which is an absolute wonderful addition. I love that they're doing that now. It's such a great extra way to pose them. And then he does come with both right and left hand that have fully articulated fingers and thumbs. Now, the only thing that's different is it doesn't have the actual bend here at the wrist. I do wish there was a way that they could make a swivel in there so that you could put it all on this and just give us this hand, because you wouldn't need any other hands if you had these guys. But I absolutely love these. In terms of Hot Toy hands, these are the absolute best. Then one really large accessory that you see is his display stand. As you can see, it has the Tony Stark garage sort of look where you got the light up area around here. But one thing that's different, you come around here, you can see that now it has a slot in here for the dynamic flight stand. It's that really heavy duty flexible pillar, and that just screws in. One thing that's kind of unfortunate, as you can see here, it needs to be bent in order to really give a good secure grip around his waist. That kind of stinks because it's a little bit longer, but I love it. It's a great way to be able to display him in sort of a flying pose that's a little bit more dynamic than him just hovering there. One thing that I will say is that, unfortunately, and I'm just going to leave the figure attached to it, it does have the battery compartment on the bottom, but it does not light up. The actual electronics are removed, so don't take that out unless you're like really good at customizing. I don't think you can get this to actually light up, so that's very unfortunate, but I love the inclusion of the flexible pillar. I think that's a great touch. Now onto the figure himself. As I said, the Python does reuse some parts from the original Mark 7, specifically speaking about the torso and the arms. As you can see, they are identical. The only difference is there is a paint difference, and that's really about it. All the same functions that this had is present again with this guy. So you can remove these shoulder pieces. They kind of just wiggle off, so you can take those off. You can then also take the exposed missile ones, and you can just peg that on there, getting that, well, you can drop stuff. That's always a good thing. Get that lined up, and well, let's see here. There we go. Get that on there. So you can have that if you so desire. Or you can just completely take it off entirely, and then you have these little pieces. I was absolutely mistaken. I mentioned that these little pieces were for down here. These pieces still do come off. I thought that that's what they were for, but it isn't. They actually are designed for, and getting this lifted up here, and I gotta get that pegged back in, so there we go. These pieces here are what is underneath when the missile pod's removed. So personally, I like this off on here. I don't mind the overall look, I guess. You still have the thrusters and the flaps down here. Personally, just to differentiate this a little bit more, I really do kind of like leaving those on there, and don't want to drop down this guy, but that just differentiates it a little bit more in terms of the actual upper body. It looks less bulky, I think. And being that the Python is meant to be lighter so that it can fly for longer periods of time, I think this works nicely. So for my display, this is what I'm going to do. You could see that these pieces here also still detach. This chest piece, it detaches as well, kinda. I don't have that. There we go. You can remove this, and you can see the round arc reactor, so putting that back on there. One other thing that I do really appreciate that Hot Toys is doing now is that they're not installing the batteries right out of the box. What they're instead doing is giving you all of them in a separate little clamshell. I know a lot of collectors take these batteries out when they first get the figure because they don't want any corrosion, and I think that's absolutely fantastic. But as you can see, all the batteries are right here, so I don't have to take them out later on. But the chest does still light up, so do the eyes and the hands. Taking a look at the arms on here, though, well, you can pull the arms off if you want to. This does detach as well. And then you can take the little extended missile thing, and you can put that on there. Again, exactly as it was on the Mark 7. So, in terms of the arms and the torso, they are the same. So you do have that going. Great detail on here. I mean, look, you got some like painted silver in there and everything. I mean, simply amazing detail. Popping that back in there. One thing that isn't the same is the head and the legs. Zooming in to take a look at that, you can see that the Mark 7 has a different head sculpt. It has a little bit different of a look here with the actual face. You can see it doesn't have those little grooves, whereas this one has these actual grooves along the gold portion. Now, from what I've understood, this is the head that is coming on the Silver Centurion figure. So technically a reuse, but this is the first time that we're getting this particular head sculpt. One thing that you're also seeing is that, yes, this guy is a hair taller. I think that's partly due because of the legs as well as the head. As you can see, the head is a little bit more narrow, and I think it also slightly makes it a little bigger. I mean, I'm talking like millimeters. Most of it comes in the actual legs. Coming down to the torso, though, here it is zoomed in so that you can actually see how much similar it is to the Mark 7. Well, obviously it is because it's identical, but again, really stunning paint job on him, and you can see some really nice wear. I'm gonna just move him onto the side for right now, but some actual wonderful paint on here that shows some really nice scratches on there. My wife, when she first got this, she joked with me. She's like, is this supposed to be scratched like this? And I said, yes, it is, but she didn't know at first, and I think it looks terrific. You got some weather up here on the shoulder bits as well. But again, all the wood detail on here is just really something spectacular and stunning. The back does look a little bit more different, but as I said, you still have these air flaps that can come up, so you can replicate that. You do have the little vent things underneath there with the silver paint. So again, all wonderful detail all the way throughout. So taking the Mark 7 and bringing him back in. And now we come to the legs. And again, this is where I think the biggest reason for the increased height comes from. The legs look a little bit longer. As you can see right up here where the hips are, they go a little higher than this guy's. So again, that sort of contributes to the slightly taller figure just in general. But you can see how much more different the legs are. The thighs are very similar. I mean, in terms of paint and everything, I mean, it's obviously very different, but getting these arms out of the way, you can just see the big difference. Now, again, these are new, but they are the legs for the Heartbreaker armor that we'll be getting later on. So again, a reuse, but the first time that we're actually seeing them. And then flipping around here to the actual back of them, you can see again some really great detail, very heavy duty back here. Specifically here in the calves, I mean, these are just monstrous looking, but great detail nonetheless. I mean, really absolutely gorgeous. And then the feet, as you can see, are also different. Whereas the Mark 7 has a more slender, I guess, typical sort of look for the feet, the actual Heartbreaker feet have a much bulkier look to them. And again, a really nice paint wash on here that has some wonderful scratching and things of that nature. I absolutely love it. Now, when it comes time to turn the lights on, what they've actually done with this is, normally the mask would come off. It's got this little flap right here across the top of them that you kind of wedge your fingernail in there and pull it up. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to scratch the paint, but that's where you would turn on the lights for that. You can see that the head does detach. I don't know why you would want to do that. The lights for the repulsors are here on the inside of his bicep. You got the battery compartment right here. Same with the battery compartment right there on the back. You got the switch right there. That also turns on his chest light. Well, I think that's what I meant to say. But articulation wise, it is as articulated as you would imagine. The head is on a nice ball joint. It does have the more improved neck joint where you can get a higher sort of pose with the actual figure, getting a nice flight look. He does have a lower neck joint that you can articulate. The shoulders move forward, back, in, out. This piece here flexes a little bit so you get a nice range of motion. It rotates at the upper part of the bicep. It only has one joint here at the elbow. If you're familiar with the Mark 7, it's the exact same arm, so you only have one joint right there, and it can only go up that far. And it's recommended to not leave it in this pose because you could get a wrinkle. The piece in here is a rubber, so that could get damaged over time if you leave it in one pose. So change things up every now and then. Basically, just don't keep it stuck out like that. One thing that I absolutely love is they do have the same ab extension where you can extend it out. I mean, it still rotates at the upper part right here. Get a nice range of motion. It does sort of move forward and back, but not much. If you extend it up, you can get much more of a forward back motion, right, like so, and then it can go side to side. So all those articulation points are hidden when you collapse it down, and it works very nicely. The hips here move forward, they move back. You do have a rubber piece right here, which I am curious to know if that will fade over time, if it's painted or if it actually is molded in this color. Some of the previous versions had the pink panty syndrome. I think that this is all molded in this color and not necessarily painted, so that might be okay. You can sort of wedge it underneath there and get a backwards leg motion. You can bring it up forward, kind of wedge it about that far. For the forward leg motion, it does move in and out, but again, it's a little bit limited because of that little rubber piece. You can sort of flex this out and then get these side pieces if you like pull this just like that, and then you can get that to tuck under. So you don't want to force it, because as you can see right here, that side piece here then ends up hitting this rubber section. So you don't want to force it because that could damage that. But if you just pinch this a little bit, that brings this forward a little, and then you can take this and slide it under, so you can get a little bit wider of a pose with them. You can rotate at the upper part of the thigh, not much, but you can see that range of motion. The knees here have two joints that I absolutely love. As you fold this back, you have this piece here that comes down and fills in that look. I just love it. I think that is so cool and wonderful how they actually do that. It looks simply terrific. Then for the ankles, you've got this little piece right here that flexes forward a little bit, so you can move it about that far. It's not a heck of a lot of motion. It is on a ball joint, so you can move it back and forth, move it forward, and then the foot you can actually pose a little bit. So all the articulation that you could possibly want is here, and if you want to extend it even more, you can take the fists, remove that, set that guy right there. You can bring that hand with the finger articulation, you can bring that in, peg that in there. It's just a ball joint, so you can get you can create a fist with it. You can create basically a fist. I mean, it's not going to be completely closed, but that's a fairly good looking fist, I would say. It's not as closed as the actual one, but it's pretty decent. So setting that there, getting there. I just love the fact that you can articulate the actual hands. It's a wonderful addition. Or you can take this, out, you can then slide this piece out, bring in the extra wrist guard, slide that all the way in like that, and bring this out like so. And then obviously you can create that more dynamic looking I'm gonna shoot you kind of pose. I'm not good with posing. You guys know I'm not good with posing, but that's a pretty cool look nonetheless. I mean, especially with that extra wrist piece that allows you to lift that. It just gives you so many more options. Now, considering everything that I just said to you guys, it's absolutely no secret that I'm a huge Iron Man fan and that I have all of the Iron Man figures that I can possibly get. All that being said, truly being objective, I have to say that I can completely understand why a lot of collectors are very annoyed with Hot Toys. This is yet another Iron Man figure repaint, for the most part, and that has really aggravated a lot of collectors. If it wasn't for the 2014 San Diego Comic-Con, I think this particular figure would annoy a lot more people. But at that convention, Hot Toys blew everybody away by showing off a lot of terrific upcoming figures, including the Batman Returns Michael Keaton Batman, Marty McFly and the DeLorean from Back to the Future, and a lot of other great looking figures. For me, who's an Iron Man collector, this is an absolute must-have. The colors just look terrific. The black, the gold, you got some silver thrown in there just to kind of accent things. everything has a wonderful contrast and looks spectacular. The reuse of the Mark 7 body and arms doesn't bother me really all that much. You can sort of customize it, at least the torso a little, to give it a slightly more different look. As you can see, I removed the additional shoulder missile things, and then these little panels along the side, it adds a little bit of color and it cleans it up, but you can see some more detail in there. I removed that just to, again, further differentiate it from that actual Mark 7. In addition to that, you do get brand new legs and a brand new head sculpt. And since we're getting this first, you can almost say that the Silver Centurion and the Heartbreaker copy this guy, I guess. So if you are an Iron Man collector and a fan, this is one that I would recommend getting all day long, especially if you're going for the House Protocol sort of display. But this is one that really is a very niche kind of character, or suit, I guess you should say. Taking a look at stills and rewatching the movie many times, you might see this for a split second. And I know that also bugs a lot of people. For me, that was never something that really bugged me. I just love getting all the different suits. My imagination can fill in the rest. So I love it and I do recommend it. But casual hot toy collectors that don't have a lot of space, this is definitely one that you can pass on. As part of the House Protocol, it's not one of the main suits. I would classify as the Mark 1 through 7, even sort of the Mark 42 as a main suit if you're collecting Iron Man. If you're a hardcore collector, this is one that you're going to want to add. If you are interested in picking this up, do not wait, because a lot of these Iron Man figures go in the blink of an eye. And I think this guy right now is actually on the wait list on Sideshow Collectibles. So get your name in there if you want this. Don't wait. To help you out, there will be a link down in the video description. All you have to do is click on that. You'll go to Sideshow, and as I said, you can put your name on the wait list and get this if one becomes available. But beyond that, guys, that's about it. So once again, I want to thank you for tuning in. This has been Optibotimus. Don't forget that you can keep in touch with me by liking my Facebook page at facebook.com/TeamBotimus and by following me over on Twitter at twitter.com/Optibotimus. Also, I'd really encourage you to check out my new website at OptibotimusReviews.com, where you can see all my videos from the previous week, as well as see what I have coming up for future release. And finally, I'd also really appreciate it, guys, that if you like this review, don't forget to please like, comment, and share this video. And until next time, I'll talk to you later.